Welcome to the Wall Street Journal's Big Interview. Our guest today is Renee James, president of Intel, which it's probably fair to say is maybe the most consequential company driving the digital revolution that has changed all our lives over the last 30 years.
I think so.
I want to introduce you quickly. You've been at the company for not 25, 26 years.
Yes.
Got to change that on your bio and on the website. You worked closely with CEO Andy Grove, former CEO Andy Grove, who wanted to see you in a senior role. You most recently ran Intel's software business.
I did.
And you've said you work for Intel's new CEO, but you both direct strategy, which means the rest of the company reports to the two of you.
That's true.
Okay.
All correct.
Great. Now, first big question I want to ask you is, you folks are you're more visible these days. You're trying to be more visible. What's the story you want to tell about Intel?
Well, a couple things. First of all, we want people to know that we love computing. We're all about computing, and we want to serve every segment of it. We have a lot of people talking about that we're just a PC company. We don't think of ourselves that way. We think of ourselves as a computing company, and we want people to use our technology in all computing, from embedded wearables all the way up to supercomputers.
Now, you've said that for a while, that you're focusing on mobile.
Yes.
Now, what's changing right now? You've just come in the last 3 months. New CEO.
Yes.
Came in at the same time.
Uh-huh.
What is really changing strategically now about your focus on mobile devices?
What's happening now is we've shifted the focus to really bring our Atom product line, which is more for ultra mobility and for embedded and et cetera, up to on a par with our core product line, which historically everyone's known us for on the client side for PCs. So we are treating Atom and Core equally. And that means we're putting a lot more emphasis on Atom. We're doing more, we're creating more products, we're taking the product line across every segment of mobility, and we're at all price points, all screen sizes is the way to think about that. And we've increased our efforts on Android. So we are basically equalizing our efforts between Android and Windows. So we do both, and we make sure that our products run both. So we're kind of upping everything on the mobility side.
Meanwhile, you've got a developer conference coming up in September.
We do.
Can we get a preview of anything that might be announced?
No, I can't do that. But what I can tell you is, what I can tell you is that there will be a lot of new things happening. A lot in mobility. We're going to talk about where we think computing is going. We're going to talk a lot about how we think things are going to evolve and what happens between tablets, PCs, phones, and what comes next. So I hope you'll come join us.
Any devices that we'll hear about, maybe devices you're going to see Intel chips in, potentially?
I bet we will have something for you.
Okay, great. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, just to catch people up a little bit, you talk about Atom.
Yes.
It's basically, for the uninitiated, it's a smaller chip.
It is.
It's a cheaper chip. And historically, it's always been hobbled to some degree relative to the core, really powerful, really fast, more expensive chips you put in PCs. What does it represent that you are focused much more on the lower price chips?
I'm smiling because I wouldn't use the word hobbled. I would say it's been defeatured. And I think that our point of view about that had been that you didn't need all of the features and performance when you were building a phone, because it came from the point of view of a phone. But as the market's evolved and we see Atom as a fabulous underpinning for microservers, for even higher performance tablets, for embedded devices, we realize that compatibility is really important. And it's important because it allows the software to move around multiple devices, and that's what people want to do. They want to go from an embedded Atom in your car to your phone to your PC or what have you.
What do you mean? Explain for people out there. They don't understand how you go.
For communications, you want when you get into your car, you want your phone to connect, and you want that application to be able to dial your friend, read your phone, whatever.
So like Google Maps in your car would work with Google Maps on your phone would work with
and you would be able to communicate. So we've rethought Atom and realized what we really want is a product that's positioned and really appropriate for smaller Internet of Things, for phones, lower cost devices, but that has the compatibility with the rest of the software ecosystem. So when we say we're bringing Atom up on a par with Core, what we're saying is that we're building parts for Atom that come all the way up to Core, so that we have a complete product line, and that it has more of the compatibility, which means all of our new Atom products run Windows.
Okay.
So you can build a Windows tablet, you can build an Android tablet, you could run both.
Whereas before it was mainly the core chip.
Right,
the
that
more
was
expensive
really
one.
focused on Windows, right. So now we have the entire product line focused on Windows and Android, so
Now,
that's changed.
The business challenge that a lot of people talk about, they use the word cannibalization.
Yes.
So that the chip you're now focused on, the smaller one that's great for, that's lower power,
Yes.
that's great for mobile devices, is a lot cheaper typically than the more expensive chip that I suspect is in, for instance, one of these new devices.
This is a Haswell or a fourth generation core-based machine.
One of your top-of-the-line
Top of the
processors.
line, that's
top
right.
of the line.
All-day battery life and great performance and graphics, and you can see it running Windows.
And the challenge then, and I want you to tell me about, I guess, how you negotiate this challenge from a business perspective, is as these kinds of devices, as PCs increasingly get replaced by mobile devices, and in other words, devices that carry a really expensive Intel chip get replaced with devices that carry a cheaper chip that may or may not be Intel. How do you navigate that transition without having a big impact financially on the company?
It's a great question. So first of all, we don't think that all of those PCs get replaced with. We think lots of people want high performance machines. But what's happening in the PC market is a lot of them are going to form factors like this one, where it becomes essentially a tablet.
This is a new Sony
This
device.
is a new Sony device, but it has the performance of the core product line in a incredible mobility. So all-day battery life, doesn't have to be plugged in, has complete high-performance graphics. And this might replace an older PC, but then you start to have to ask yourself, if you take these things, you can take them all apart, in every different way.
Might as well pick it up and show it to the camera
go
here.
ahead.
And got that.
And you can slide it into
It slides down
tablet
like this.
mode. And the newer, in addition to the Sony one, other ones that are coming out actually will detach as well. And we call them 2-in-1s. They can be a tablet in tablet mode or PC mode.
Okay.
So when we see that happening, we say, okay, well, so that's not a one-for-one replacement. That's just what we would call refreshing of the market. And then we see a segmentation of tablets. We see 11-inch and above tablets that are higher performance that people want to use in different work environments, and then we see, of course, lower-end tablets. So what we've done is we've created Atom products that scale all the way up and down, and the Haswell product, the core-based product, also can come down into fanless designs. So we think that there's going to be an overlap, and there's going to be different products with different price performance at different price points. You'll get better graphics at a higher price point, and it may be a core-based machine, might be having slightly less graphics, and it might be a smaller form factor like a 7-inch or an 11-inch only, and might be a different price performance. So what we've decided, yes, that happens. There will be some amount of cannibalization, but what's most important is to create products at every price point so we can create segmentation in the market.
You have to follow where the market's going at some
well,
point.
you do, but you also
It's a bit of
have...
an innovator's dilemma.
It is an innovator, but you have to embrace it. Because if you fight it, doesn't work for you. So by embracing it, what I'm saying is we create opportunities for our customers to build products that just aren't low cost, that are medium cost with a certain performance, and then are the greatest performance at a different price point, instead of just this bifurcation of high cost, low cost, right? So that's part of the way that you handle the
But to the extent that the
shift.
market goes cheaper, we're going to have a lot more PCs, smaller tablets coming out this Christmas that are aimed at the low end of the market, $400 as opposed to $1,200.
Right.
And if that's what people are paying, the amount that you can make for the chip inside of it is a lot less. But that's a trade-off that Intel's really willing to make at this point.
Well, we have a wonderful situation in our manufacturing leadership and cost advantage. So these are profitable businesses for us. So it's more important for us to participate in the businesses, to win share, and to manage the mix of our products across the entire line.
And we should emphasize for people that the manufacturing leadership you talk about, really what's driven the digital revolution is the ability to pack more and more transistors into each chip. We're talking about Moore's Law, Gordon Moore,
That's exactly
which
right.
he outlined years and years ago.
That's right.
Now, that actually leads to another question, which is when do we hit that ceiling?
Well, we We don't see that in the near future, and we've talked openly that, we're running high volume 22 nanometer today. We are on to design.
22 nanometers is the measurement between the transistor
Yes.
on the chip.
So that's the name of the node of the process technology that we're on today. Thank you for that. And our competitors are slightly behind us, and some say they're the same, but we're moving to 14, which is the next node, and that allows us to put more transistors and or get more power, more performance in a lower power envelope. So what we've done is we've moved ourselves ahead multiple generations in getting more power efficient, which allows us to be more and more competitive in mobile parts. And it's actually quite useful in the server business as well.
I want to talk about that quickly. How small can the chips get?
Small. We have line of sight to a couple more generations of small, but we haven't really talked about how small we're going to get.
Okay, so 9 nanometer, and then after that, maybe one more, but after that, we don't know. Who knows? Okay, data center.
Yes.
This is another very important business for you guys. You have something like 90% market share and incredible profits there. Basically, the servers that go into data centers that power all these devices.
That's right. The other end of the wire.
And people are coming after Intel there as well. For instance, ARM, the ecosystem of chips that go into mobile devices today, are going to come out with server chips that are cheaper, lower power. How is Intel going to avoid something similar happening in servers that happened in sort of the computing device revolution?
This is an interesting case study for us. You asked about cannibalization. And one of the things when you see a market shift or a new competitor comes on, the way you react initially really determines some of the dynamic. So what I would say is the best thing that ever happens to Intel is to have a great competitor. It makes us better. So on the ARM side, what we've done is we've taken it very seriously. And what you've seen is we're leaders in microservers. We're leaders in emerging new areas of workloads that people want to run in the data center. We're listening to our customers who want to do some customization. So I think the way we've reacted in data centers is really very different than the way that we treated mobility from the mobile disruption from the bottom, if you will, in the other side of the client business.
You're not waiting for it to change this time.
No, we've actually reacted very quickly. We've already announced SoC-based server products based on the Atom family of processors. So I feel that it's been really great. It's been good. It's pushed us to be more competitive. We have been leading in those new microserver businesses, and it's looking to be a helpful expansion to the business. And I think the same will happen in the client. And now that we're emerging.
When you say client, you mean?
I mean in tablets and PCs as those two markets blend together.
Yeah.
I think the same phenomenon will happen. It's
Okay.
good for us to get in and compete. We're building better products. The Bay Terrell family of products is outstanding. The Haswell family of products is the best mobile product we've ever built in the core product line. It's making us better.
Bay Trail being the latest of the small
Of
chips,
the Atoms,
Haswell being the latest of
core.
the good chips.
Yeah, and the
better
core
chips, the
ones
more
are
expensive ones.
are shipping now
Yeah.
in products now.
Last question I want to ask you about mobile. Qualcomm is
Yes.
kicking everybody's butt there. And one reason is because they've got such a huge lead in another kind of chip that has to go into the phones. That's the radio, the thing that
Right.
talks to the network.
Right.
Intel is better at the brain of the chip. Well, Qualcomm is great at the brain of the chip of a smartphone as well. How do you catch up to Qualcomm, given that they have that advantage as well on that chip and relative to Intel?
I think everybody has advantages. We have an advantage. Our advantage is design and integrated manufacturing. Our advantage is certainly in the combination of process technology married to our SoC. We have an advantage in graphics, and we are on a par in communications. We're number 2 in communications. Behind them, we think our products are better in power management, but it's the integration. When you look at a system on a chip, the way that products are built today,
putting the brain of the chip, the brain of the device
is
together
now
with the communication chip,
so
putting it all
now
together.
it's all put together. So they're not separate, discrete elements anymore. It's the combination, and you actually have the graphics and the central processing and the communications together. And Intel has all three. And on top of that, we have the thing that makes them all go together in the smallest, most cost-effective way, which is integrated manufacturing that has node leadership. So we believe that that's...
You can make them smaller than Qualcomm can.
We think we can make them better. We think
Okay.
we can make them smaller. And we think that integration is what
They would
wins.
argue with you. They would disagree, of
I'm
course.
sure that they would.
They would.
It's Brian and my job to make that.
The new CEO.
That's right.
Television. I want to jump to that. Tell us about what Intel plans to bring to television.
Well, television, like all other things, has gone digital and can be delivered over an IP network. And we believe that that's an opportunity for more data to be delivered to devices. And broadcast and other content is just another form of content that could go to any one of your devices. So I think we have a point of view about that we'd like to see that unleashed. And
why would I want an Intel? Basically, it's a set-top box, is what we're going to get. An Intel-branded set-top box that's going to deliver television via your internet connection, as opposed to the customary cable.
Well, lots of people
TV
are doing
connection.
Lots
I mean,
of
it's all
people are
one
doing
wire,
this,
but-
right? I mean, it's not just an Intel thing. I think it's
It's exactly the point, which is what can Intel do to, what's special about what you can bring to this?
well, we always bring what we bring, which is technology, integration, and leadership in the ability to put these things together and make them cost effective. We also think that it's just a new market opportunity. It's just a new area of growth. And like I told you when I opened up, you said, what's new? We are not leaving any market unresearched. We're looking at everything. The Internet of Things and embedded's a big deal. Phones are a big market. We want to win in all of the segments of computing. And if that's an emerging segment of computing, we're looking at it.
Why did Intel leave, I'm thinking about Apple Television in my head. Why did Intel leave under the prior leadership, leave the mobile revolution, wait to make some of these changes you're talking about, emphasize these new things? Why did it wait to do that for so long?
Well, you have to understand, I can't speak to some of the decisions, but what I can say is, laptops are mobile. We actually, with what we did with our, Centrino and bringing Wi-Fi hotspots to airports and McDonald's and all those things, that was all Intel. We did that. So in many ways, we led the beginning of mobility, modern compute mobility. And I think that there's a difference. Sometimes you don't always know that the next thing is a disruption and not just another device. And the disruption wasn't so much the form factor. It wasn't the tablet, because that's really just disaggregating the keyboard from the screen and putting all the electronics in the screen. It was the way people are using computing changed. Touch, human interaction, voice, right? The way the applications model, worked with the cloud and the app store. That really shifted. And I think that combination with the new form factor caused a bigger disruption than we might have expected.
And previously, Intel, Microsoft
led the disruptions.
Had led it, and
That's
now
right.
now you're behind. Now you're
Well,
kind of coming from behind.
I think we came from behind, but now I think we're catching up at this point. And nothing stopped us from being the disruptor. So Brian and I, again, you asked us what we're doing different. We are really looking forward, and at our developer conference, are going to talk about where we think things go next. And Intel and Microsoft built a tablet in the mid-90s. It just was too soon. So there's a lot of these technologies that we work on and we think about in our labs, but we don't necessarily get them out there fast enough. We're not always the disruptive force, so we don't want to miss the next one.
What happens if Windows 8 doesn't catch on?
I have confidence. These things take time. It's a new usage model. It just takes time for people to get going. Android is doing well. We support both. I already told you we're going to do both on all of our products. But I have confidence that over the course of time, the new designs that are coming out are fabulous.
Okay.
They'll get better.
Thank you. Renee
Thank
James,
you.
President of Intel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
And that has been the Wall Street Journal's Big Interview.